I can't wait for the X-Men in the MCU. Okay, so full transparency, I don't know that much about the X-Men, but I remember when I was really little, Wolverine, Hulk, and Spider-Man were everywhere. Besides Superman and Batman, they seemed like the superheroes. But I think this all changed when the MCU began in 2008 with the release of Iron Man. Now, I don't remember much of this, I was way too young, but of course I was there for the next 10 plus years of the MCU's reign on superheroes. Meaning, the superheroes I grew up with were always the Avengers. Which is interesting because the Avengers used to be like C-tier superheroes before the MCU made them so popular. But my point is, before the MCU, the real heavy hitters were the X-Men. When people thought of Marvel superheroes, they thought of Wolverine, Storm, Jean Grey, Cyclops, etc. And the future of the MCU is apparently this team. In fact, the only reason why they weren't here from the jump is because Marvel went bankrupt in the 90s and had to sell their Spider-Man and X-Men rights away. This is why Spider-Man is with Sony now, and all the old heads got their Fox X-Men movies. But now the X-Men belong to Marvel once again, and they'd be stupid to waste the kind of love that people have for these heroes. So they won't. Apparently, Marvel Studios has plans for an entire mutant saga. An entire saga focused on the X-Men. This will take place after Avengers Secret Wars in 2027, so the mutant saga will probably start in 2028 then, I'm guessing. Although, I have heard that the X-Men movie will take place directly after the events of Secret Wars with a 2027 release date. The reason why I'm so excited for this as someone who grew up with the Avengers instead of the X-Men is for two reasons. Reason one is because it feels so fresh and new, which is something the MCU really needs, while still being welcomed with open arms. Again, the mutants is likely what everyone would have wanted from the MCU since the very beginning. I know this is hard for the younger ones to believe, but the MCU's underdog era was the Avengers. They already proved that they can get people to love the Avengers. And on the flip side, everyone already loves the X-Men. It's a fresh and new start that simply just has to be well executed. So they've already exceeded people's expectations with the underdog story. And now finally people can get what they've actually really been waiting for. And for the younger audience, we get to understand what we've been missing. It's such a win if just executed properly. Currently, everyone and their mother has been complaining about the MCU post-Endgame for forever now. It sucks to think about the Avengers' reign being over, but yeah, it does have to be put to rest. In the least, it's most likely going to take a back seat. The Avengers will likely always be in the universe, I don't see why they wouldn't be, but fresh, new faces with a new major story is a necessity for a franchise this big that runs for so long. The second reason is the excitement I have for the overall story of the X-Men. I haven't read any comics or anything, but I know and or read up on the overall gist of it. The X-Men are mutants who are born with crazy abilities, and essentially the world fears them and even hates them for it. Professor X then makes a school for these mutants to teach them how to control their powers and coexist with normal humans. This concept alone is fire to me, but when you add the fact that there are differing ideologies in this world, such as those of Magneto who believes in mutant supremacy, and therefore different ways of handling the problem of coexistence between humans and mutants, then it's even better. I'd love to see how the MCU will handle this by putting them in the forefront. Again, the Avengers may take a back seat, but that doesn't mean that they're gone. They're still in the world. Think about it. We already have one mutant since like phase 4 of the MCU. Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, and she is an Avenger, a young Avenger to be exact. I don't know how the Avengers and the X-Men interact in the comics, but this mix-up of characters and the dynamic seems so fun. Also, Wanda is technically a mutant as well, even though I'm not so sure the MCU explicitly said this, but regardless, I'm pretty sure this also means that her son Billy Maximoff is also a mutant. Billy, just like Kamala, is a young Avenger. Will Kamala and Billy attend the school? How will this work? What would their dynamic be like? This would be so interesting to see. Now, the X-Men and the Fox movies were much older, but I think in the comics they started off as teen/young adults, all between the ages of 16 to 21. So I'd assume the MCU will start them off young as well. So if Marvel is casting the X-Men now, and they're anticipating an entire saga for these characters, which could last 10 years easy, then they'd have to cast younger. It's been reported that Jack Champion is being eyed to play Cyclops, aka Scott Summers, which makes sense because Jack Champion is only 20 years old, and at least from what I've researched, Cyclops started as a 17-year-old. So it's the perfect age range. Jean Grey was 18, Iceman, aka Bobby Drake, was 16, Beast, aka Hank McCoy, was 19, and Angel, aka Warren Worthington III, was 20. These age ranges are perfect for banter or relationships or team-ups with the Avengers side of things. Kamala Khan is like 16 or 17 and her actress is 22. And Billy Maximoff is also like 16 or 17, with his actor only being 21. This honestly just seems like such a bright setup and future for the MCU. Brand new compelling stories, leaving the old great story behind and welcoming a new. I can totally imagine the new X-Men and young Avenger kids being the new recognizable faces of the MCU. I'm very excited for what's to come. But what are your thoughts? Let me know.